The Forum on China-Africa Cooperation, FOCAC, is a platform established to enhance cooperation and dialogue between China and African countries. It was launched in 2000, with a meeting taking place every 3 years since its inception. This year, over 50 African heads of states traveled to Beijing for FOCAC 2024, where the 2024 to 2027 action plan was presented. Here are some post-FOCAC insights from selected scholars in the Africa-China space.
My initial thoughts on this year's FOCAC has been really a lot. First, this FOCAC is happening at a time when a lot of countries are just recovering from the COVID-19 pandemic, but also it's happening at a time when wars have hit the world once again, from Eastern Europe to West Asia to, of course, Africa, to mention but a few regions. The world is once again witnessing a time when political instability is really increasing around the world. But I also thought that this FOCAC was at a really critical moment when the US and China, for instance, are competing a lot, whether being in the Indo-Pacific region or even in Africa, in the Horn of Africa and around the world. So to me, this FOCAC really was unprecedented. But also the other thing is that a lot of African countries have really high debt levels. Countries like Ethiopia, for instance, have high debt levels. Angola, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Djibouti, to mention but a few. So this year's FOCAC, which was themed joining hands to advance modernization and build a high-level China-Africa community with a shared future, to me was really important. A lot of the African countries, of course, would be expecting China to come and support them economically, either forgive their debts or help them with technologies or buy more of their products. In Nigeria, for instance, there were protests against the government for the high inflation rates, and we saw the Nigerian president go to Beijing even several days before the FOCAC meeting, so with the expectation that he could have a side meeting with his counterpart, President Xi, so to potentially find solutions to some of the problems, economic problems that have hit Nigeria in recent years. Kenya had just witnessed a similar situation where there have been protests again for economic reasons. So yeah, this FOCAC was really unprecedented, and again because of the wars that are happening everywhere. My initial thoughts have been also that a lot of the countries would be looking towards China for security reasons. In the Sahel region, as you may all know, we've seen a lot of military coups from Burkina Faso to Niger to Sudan, to mention but a few. A lot of these juntas are increasingly looking towards Beijing and Russia as they kick out the West from their regions, from their peace and security engagements. So again, Beijing has really been the focus, and I was thinking that a lot of these countries would go to China expecting security engagements and MOUs and all of that. And indeed, if you look at the outcomes of the FOCAC, it's been really a lot more about the people to people aspect of things and less of economics. China has promised trainings to military, police, a lot of exchanges. So all of that, I actually had predicted just ahead of the FOCAC. The FOCAC has led to, if you look at the declaration document, for instance, you see a lot of keywords like globalization, which China has used repeatedly. So in this FOCAC, China has mentioned three key global connotations. The other one is the GDI, which is the Global Development Initiative, and then the other one is the GSI, which is the Global Security Initiative, and then the third is the GCI, which is the Global Civilization Initiative. So by global, again, China is trying to sell its ideologies and its development model to the world, and to get more support for its policies. Yeah, so now really the focus has happened. China has promised over $50 billion in trade, in financial assistance to the continent, among other commitments. The other task is now to see really how all of these promises how all of these promises will come to fruition or to reality. But I see a few challenges for sure. China being China, transparency has always been a big issue, and also given the nature of these commitments, a lot having to do with military, you're not going to see a lot of such published in the public domain for sure. So that makes it really hard for us to measure any achievements as far as the promises of the FOCAC is concerned. So, but yeah, time will tell for sure. Time will tell. But yeah, that has been the FOCAC. It has been unprecedented. Let's see what happens.